English lesson. Today we will talk about the simple present. First, we'll talk about when to use it. Then we will talk about trigger words that tell you when to use it. Then we will talk about how to make a statement, how to make a negative sentence, and how to make a question in the present tense. And then we will talk about the use of the verb to be in the present tense. And there again, how to make statements, negatives, and questions. Finally, we will briefly look at short answers in the simple present, as these are fairly common in English. Okay, let's start with the use of the simple present. We use the simple present when we talk about general facts. For example, the Earth is not flat. 2 plus 2 equals 4. We also use the simple present for present facts. For example, I live in Germany. I am 41 years old. These things are true now, but they might not have been true in the past, or they might not be true in the future. We also use the simple present to talk about habits, so things you do on a regular basis. For example, I watch TV every day. I always brush my teeth before I go to bed. This use also brings us to what I call trigger words. There are certain trigger words that tell you we are talking about a habit and therefore have to use the simple present. These words include every, like every year, every Monday, every week, and so on. Always, usually, often, sometimes, and never. When you use these words, you have to use the simple present. Let's talk about statements in the simple present. This is pretty simple. You can basically use the verb the way you learned it. For example, I like pizza. You like pizza. They like pizza. We all like pizza. But there is an exception. That is, with he, she, and it, an S must sit. Meaning when we use he, she, and it, we have to add an S to the verb. For example, he likes pizza. She likes pizza. Look at that rat. It likes pizza. So remember, with he, she, it, an S must sit. Now let's talk about negative sentences in the simple present. To make a sentence negative, you have to put in the word don't, a short version of do not. And you have to put it in front of the verb. For example, I don't like pizza. You don't like pizza. We don't like pizza. But again, there is an exception, and that is, again, with he, she, it, S must sit. But where does that S sit? Let's look at some examples. She doesn't like pizza. He doesn't like pizza. So instead of don't, we say doesn't. That's where we add the S. Notice though that we do not add an S to the verb like now, because the S is already included in doesn't. Let's talk about questions in the simple present. In English, you start the question with do. For example, do I like pizza? Do you like pizza? Do we like pizza? Do they like pizza? Of course, as you already expected, there is an exception. Again, you should remember with he, she, it, an S must sit. So you would have to ask, does he like pizza? Does she like pizza? Does it like pizza? Then, of course, there are also questions where you use question words. Words like who, where, when, what, why, and so on. In these cases, you have to put that question word at the beginning of the sentence. For example, what do you like? Why do they like it? But remember, again, with he, she, it, and s must sit, so you would have to ask, what does he like? Or why does she like him? Let's talk about the verb to be in the simple present. The verb be is a little different than most other verbs, so it's more difficult to use. How do you use it in a statement? I am old. You are old. He, she, or it is old. We are old. You too are old. They are old. You just have to study these different forms of the verb to be. In grammar, you call these verb conjugations. Let's talk about negative sentences with the verb to be. Once you have studied the verb conjugations, this is not that difficult anymore. You just add the word not to the verb. For example, I am not old. You are not old. He, she, or it is not old. We are not old. You too are not old. They are not old. You might have noticed the alternative I put in parentheses here. Aren't or isn't are called contractions, and these are simply shortened forms of the same thing. So aren't is the same as are not, and isn't is the same as is not. It's just a shorter version. Now let's talk about questions with the verb to be. Again, if you studied the verb conjugations of to be, this is not too difficult. You have to start the question with the correct conjugation of the verb of to be, followed by the noun. For example, are you old? Is he old? Are we old? If you add a question word, remember what, who, where, when, why, and so on, this question word has to be at the beginning of the sentence. For example, why are we old? Now let's briefly talk about short answers. When you answer a question, you can cut the answer short by only using the question verb instead of repeating the whole sentence. For example, you can ask, do you like pizza? And you could answer, yes, I like pizza, or no, I don't like pizza. But you can also make it shorter. You could ask, do you like pizza? And you can reply, yes, I do, or no, I don't. But remember again, if we have he, she, or it, you have to do it slightly different. Does she like pizza? Yes, she does. Or no, she doesn't. This also works for questions with to be. For example, you could ask, are you old? And I could answer, yes, I am. Or, no, I'm not. Is he old? Yes, he is. Or, no, he isn't. Till next time, stay healthy, have fun, bye.